Welcome to TelcoBridges in the Wild, a look at real-time communications technology in action, featuring customer case studies from around the industry. In this video, we are joined by Gabriel Mangieri. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Fusion Networks, who has developed an ingenious solution using RESTful APIs with ProSBC to manage their network configuration and protect against international toll fraud. And Gabriel, thanks so much for sharing your story today.
Oh, glad to be here, Alan.
Wanted to start out with some background on Fusion Networks, and if you could just quick walk us through a little bit of history of the company and your role in it, and your infrastructure.
Okay, so Fusion Networks, we're a full-service ISP, hosted phones, PRIs, SIP trunks, internet, any data provider, data circuits, that kind of thing. We started out back in 2015 as a project, and it got going, so we kept it going. We're based in New York. We're in Port Jeff, right on Long Island, and we have 3 primary data centers. We've got 2 in New York, and 1 down in Virginia, and we're expanding that as well. We have customers all over the Eastern Seaboard primarily, although we have customers really all over the world. We have customers on our hosted platform in the Philippines, Israel, China, all over the place. So we're serving customers all over. As far as our TelcoBridges, we've been using them now for about a year. Like the product, everything is on, as it says on the screen, everything is VMware based. We're running the VM machines, and they've been running very, very well, very nicely, and very happy with them.
That's great. That's great. So you approached us a little over a year ago with some business challenges, and I'd love to have you share some of these challenges and a little bit of history too. And you started out with Asterisk soft switches and ran into some limitations there.
Yeah, so we run Asterisk on our back end, and for the longest time, our system was small enough where, for the most part, we could handle the traffic and the throughput and the call volume. But then, we really were exploding. So we got way beyond what we could handle on those Asterisk soft switches, and really needed to go to an SBC platform to handle the additional call path and call volume that we're having, and it's definitely been a benefit. I love the little graphic here that you have, because myself and my team, we all can relate to that, and I'm sure other people can in the industry. Faxing has definitely been one of the biggest difficulties when it comes to voice, and our old soft switches, again, when the call volume was low, wasn't really a problem, but as the call volume picked up and the requirement for fax to just have that, super low latency, just became an issue, where we were having fax issues all the time, all over the place. And the benefit that the SBCs have really given us, so one of the big benefits there is we've been able to really, drastically reduce the amount of issues that we've had with our faxing infrastructure.
Right.
Customers are much more happy with that. We have a lot of the customers that we have in the healthcare and financial markets still rely heavily on fax, to my chagrin, but that is what it is. And so the SBCs have been integral in really helping with that. Another big thing that we were having problems with was the toll fraud. So I'm sure a lot of people have had this experience. You get, some systems, especially when you're dealing with hosted phones, there's always those people out there hacking those things and trying to get the toll for, the international toll from it. And how do you protect against that? How do you stop that from happening? And what the way that we had was, we were getting notifications from our upstream peers saying, you have this toll fraud, and then we would have to go backwards once the damage was already done and try to find it and try to fix it, and that really that manual process was not efficient and
Right.
caused a good deal of cost involved. Both.
Yeah, and that was really hurting your bottom line. I think you
Oh
shared
yeah,
with me. Yep.
yeah. That,
Yep.
that hurt our bottom line significantly, both in cost in the of labor to manage that, and
Hmm.
and as well as the cost of the actual fraud.
Right.
We had to a lot of times we had to eat that cost, which
Right.
was significant sometimes.
Yep. So you put together a solution, and I love how this all came together. By the way, very impressed with it. But first of all, you have these three data centers, and in each one of them, as you share with me, you put an access and a peering SBC with some backup, which is a great structure. But then kind of your innovation started to kick in, and tell us about the route table updates. This is first step.
Okay, so yeah, anybody who's familiar with the route sets on the SBCs, it's a
Hmm.
wonderful thing. Works very well if you have a small route set or a small list of DIDs that you have to handle. In our situation, we've got multiple asterisk boxes on the back end. So it's not an easy thing of just saying, okay, let me route all calls from X to go to Y, so to speak.
Right.
So the SBC needs to know, okay, if this DID gets in, where am I going to send that?
Right.
The route sets are wonderful for doing that. However, the digit map files are prone to human error in that if you upload a file that is either the wrong name or doesn't have all the DIDs in it, then either nothing will work, which unfortunately I ran into that problem once and had to fix that, or the DIDs will overwrite the DIDs that are already there, and now you could potentially have a human error of dropping out all of your route translations.
Right.
So so we needed a way to, that was the first thing we needed to do. We needed a way to pull the asterisk boxes, which were running MySQL databases, and
Right.
say, okay, what DIDs are on which box? And then from there, use the API to inject route sets and digimap files directly into the SBC. So the SBC knows, okay, if such and such DID comes in, it's destined to X or whichever backend asterisk box that is hosting that DID and has the customer on it. So that was really the first foray into the APIs, and that also what's extremely beneficial there is that it allows us to control on a single platform all the SBCs, push out all those DIDs to all those SBCs, so that they all know, if something were to fail over, say from New York to Virginia, the
Hmm.
Virginia SBC knows, okay, I know where to send this without
Right.
without having to manually touch every single one.
Right.
So it manages that, it tracks it, logs it, all that stuff is automated.
And this program script it runs in the background, it trolls those tables, and automatically updates the SBCs using the API on its own.
Yep, it's on a hourly schedule right now,
Oh,
which
that's
seems to
great.
be good for now. And then, we have the ability to manually kick it off when needed as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, that was the first step. Then the second one that really impressed me was now you have to deal with your toll fraud, and you shared with me this next little piece of the puzzle, which is integrating between the Radius stream to a toll fraud detection software and manipulating the routing tables from there. So, why don't you walk us through this?
Yeah, so obviously the big problem was, okay, we're getting hit with this toll fraud,
Right.
uh, and so what we ended up doing was we ended up putting in using the Radius functionality from the SBC to do all the accounting stuff into a server, into a database.
Right.
From there, we used we have a script that runs. We built an application that runs two different scripts. It queries for different, runs different plugins that query for different types of fraud that could be seen. Either, we're running up our bill way too high, or another thing that fraud people like to do is they like to just, slam the thing and try to get through as many calls as they can as fast as they can.
Right.
And so it catches, we have those plugins to catch those instances and say, okay, if such and such for instance, if a DID is calling, say, I don't know, let's say St. Martin or the Dominican
those international prime,
international prime numbers, exactly like that, which things that are within the U.S. area code or within the U.S. country code that are just extremely expensive.
Right.
It says, okay, well, if they're, if we see those calls, if we see like 5 of them within the last 5 minutes, then that's not from one DID. That's very unlikely that a person is doing that. It's more likely that's being scripted by somebody who's trying to hack in or has hacked in. Now, there's one thing to catch that, right? So the first thing is, okay, we got to have that database there of all the calls, and we got to catch that when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do you do with that information?
Right.
So you got to catch it. Now comes the part with the, that's an easy SQL query to say, okay, let me just run this every so many minutes and, just look at it and validate that query. Now what we do is we take that information, actionable information that we've created, we use the API to then inject a route into the routing table on the SBC, which forces that calling number, that DID that's calling out, to redirect any international calls to an automated system that says international calling is disabled. And that has stopped, significantly reduced the amount of international fraud that we've had, or caught it and then it blocks it. And we have some stuff in place to do timing on the blocks and other things like that. But the primary thing is that it goes in automatically and just blocks it without any user intervention on the SBC, so that really those calls can't go anywhere anymore. And now, once it catches it, sends us all an alert, and then my team can go in and we can find those problem spots and whatever that problem was that caused the problem, and lock it down, fix it, and then move on so that the problem doesn't go away, stays away.
What's great about this too, a couple things that I really loved about it. First of all, you've taken a couple of pieces of data, right? So you've taken the radius data and figured out, where there's fraud, but then you've automatically gone to your route table and shut off that, the outbound calling for that particular DID. And this can happen in the middle of the night. It can happen on a weekend. And there's no, what we call it, the Monday morning surprise. And that's happened to a lot of organizations who come in on Monday morning and find out they got a $25,000 or $30,000 phone bill because somebody got into their IP-PBX platform. And you just squash that within minutes without any manual interventions is really a neat part of the story.
Yep, that was that's the entire goal. Stop it from happening before it happens, or before you get that that bill from the phone, your upstream peer that says, oh no, now you owe us $20,000.
Right. Well, yeah, it's awesome. It's a great story. And part of how this came together was you came to the training in Montreal, the TelcoBridges training. And was that helpful in coming up with, trying to solve some of this?
Oh, absolutely. It was helpful in this. It was helpful in just understanding in more detail what the SPCs were capable of. Understanding in more detail, and the team there was wonderful and very, very helpful in overall design, structure, how to where to place things, and the team and the support team in general has been really amazing and really helpful. I've been very happy with the product, and I've been very happy with the team.
That's great. Well, I appreciate that very much. And appreciate you sharing your story here. I realize it's a little distraction from your normal schedule, and appreciate you joining us live to share this story.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching TelcoBridges on YouTube. For more from TelcoBridges, click on the box over here and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new content.